Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Guru Deva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadashi 7th chapter, and where we discuss the Jiva aspect of it. And the Jiva is the one who does not recognize I am the pure consciousness, and therefore he takes himself that I am this. The very statement I am this is ahankara, and this is that which can be objectifiable. So anything that is objectifiable entity is this. So the whole world is objectified because it is this. So the whole thing comes under category of objects, and anything that is objectified itself is object itself is a jadam. So starting with this, I am not this, I can say I am not the chair, I am not the table. It's easy to say, but when it comes to the body, I am the body, this is my body, and I am the body. This is my body is mamakara, and I am the body is ahankara. So this is mine and I am this. First it starts with this is mine, and next is I am this. So whatever I possess also, this is mine, and the more I possess, the more I am. So I have $1 million house. If I say I have $1 million house, therefore the house may be big, but because I am possessing $1 million house, I am also big. Therefore I am is also a status is big considered. It's called amanitvam. So Krishna talks about amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshanti rajyavam acharya pasanam saucham sthairyamatma vinigraha. He lists about 24 values. So manam is essentially trying to show off what all things you have, what you have, and what you have is what I am. That is the proud of possessing. And dambam is without possessing, you say you claim I am, and that is essentially is called dambam, and that is also is the obstacle for the growth. That's what Krishna says. So the one who doesn't have the manam and the dambam, so that's one is required for spiritual satisfaction, spiritual growth itself. So in all this, I am this, I am identifying myself, a conscious entity with the unconscious entity. There itself is the problem. Problem is, I am a conscious entity and this is an unconscious entity. By identifying myself, I am this by identifying with unconscious entity. Because why? Because I do not know I am as what? I am is I refers to consciousness, am refers to existence. I am Satchid Ananda Swarupam. Ananda comes because of Sat and Chit are limitless. Sat is limitless. What about Chit? Chit is also limitless because scripture says so. Scripture becomes a pramana where it says prajnanam brahma, consciousness is Brahman. So therefore in the total Brahman it's only Sat, and which is the same as Chit, and therefore limitless being Ananda. Whereas Bhagavan Ramanuja interprets differently, where the Sat is infinite, but Chit is only finite because of is a Brahman, is a there is a inert things also the part of Brahman, and there becomes a Visheshana, but the Paramatma pervades the inert things as a part of, just as the I, the self, pervades this body also, even though body is inert. So therefore the inert things exist, but they cannot independently exist without my presence, is also being invoked by Bhagavan Ramanuja. So here we are talking about that pure I am and this is inert, but equating these two is Anyonya Adhyasa, superimposing the properties of this on top of this. So Adhyasa involves the two things. One is the real, another is unreal. And that becomes one, and that's what is called Adhyasa. In the Adhyasa Bhashya, Shankara gives an elaborate description of how the error of superimposition occurs. And this is the classical example of the rope and snake that is essentially used in defining how a mental projection of individual projection, it comes into picture on top of the original there. Original is pure consciousness, but I am superimposing at an individual level, I am this, and that's essentially the error of superimposition. And the example is given as the rope snake example is taken, where the rope is the adhishtanam. Adhishtanam is the substratum or the adharam, and I am superimposing on top of it. It's not that there is a snake on top of a rope. I am superimposing that it is indeed the snake, not a rope. So that's called Satyanuta Mithinikaranam Adhyasam. Satyam, Anutam are mixed together into one, and that is, there is only snake there and there is no rope there. If I see rope, there cannot be any snake. So if I am seeing a snake, then where is the snake coming from? Snake coming from only because I am not perceiving the complete attributes of the object. I am only seeing 5 feet and it's soft and it's lying on the floor. Those are the properties that are common for both the rope and the snake. And because people said there are snakes around here and I'm afraid of the snake, I am projecting snake. Where snake? Snake from my memory and projecting here and where? There, where the rope is. So it's not in my mind. From my point, the snake is out there. Out there is where? Out there where the rope is. So what is there is? There is a snake. So there is part, existent part, the vastu, the pure existence part is there, that is Satyam, and Anrutam, the error is the snake. Now when I see it's not a snake but a rope, what is my statement will be? There is a rope. This part, the snake part is removed, and as though removed means it's changed to rope, because now I see it is a rope, not a snake. Then what happened to the snake? Snake, well, it came from my mind, it went back into my mind, because there is no real snake there to go anywhere. What's there is only rope. So in the same way, they say it's pure consciousness, but I am taking unconscious entity, which is Anya Adhina Prakashatvam, that Jadam, whatever that inert things is, because illumined by my own presence, because they are in my consciousness, for me to be conscious of the existence of the object out there. Otherwise, the object doesn't say I am there. I had to say the object is there. How do you know? I am seeing it. So the seeing becomes a means for me to prove the existence of the or recognition of the existence of the object out there. And when I see it, it forms a vritti, a thought in my mind, and thought in my mind is illumined by my consciousness. So consciousness that I am joins with the existence expressed as the thought in my mind. So existence is now out there, has become in my mind, expressed as the thought in my mind. Even though the chair or the rope are outside, it is the corresponding thought is rising in my mind, and therefore existence of the chair, of the object, has though transformed into existence of the chair or the thought in my mind. My consciousness being joining as though with the existence or expressed as the thought, for me to be conscious of the existence of the thought, therefore for me to be conscious of the existence of object outside. So all that is involved. So in this mixture of the truth and untruth. That's what is called adhyasa, a superimposition where half truth and half untruth. If it is completely untruth, there is no problem. If it is completely truth, is also no problem. Completely ignorance, I don't see either rope or a snake, I have no problem. I just walk through without any problem. Complete knowledge that it is a rope, then I have no problem. Only problem is I know there is something, at the same time I don't see it completely. Therefore half knowledge is the problem for all the adhyasa. So I know I am existing and I know I am conscious entity. I don't need a scripture to tell me you are existing or you are a conscious entity. What I don't know is I am Ananda also, and therefore I am looking for Ananda all over the place, life after life. But scripture says you are Ananda also, because if you are existent consciousness, and that has to be limitless, and limitless is Ananda Swarupam. Anantameva Anandam. And therefore your original nature also is Ananda. Why do you say so? Logically also, you don't get happiness outside, you get happiness from your own self, but you attribute that it is outside, because whenever the desire is fulfilled, your mind is contented and settled. Therefore the mind can reflect now Ananda also. It is reflecting Chit and Sat. Now Ananda also gets reflected only when the mind is serene, Shantam, and those moments where the desire is fulfilled, then the reflection of Ananda also occurs. And occurs because your true nature is Ananda Swarupam. But you are longing for it, so that's whole life itself is only not knowing that you are Ananda also. You know you are existent, you know you are conscious entity. So 2/3 of the problem is already solved. But 2/3 of the problem and 1/3 of the problem is not known, therefore it is Satyanata Mithunikaranam. So you are mixing of half knowledge and half ignorance and making a chow, and that's where the problem is. And that's where essentially you are talking about who is realizing now this mixture, the whole thing is involved. In the whole thing, I had to use the buddhi, I had to use the reflected consciousness, and I had to learn through the srotavyaha, mantavyaha, through listening to the scriptures for a prolonged length of time under a competent teacher, and then reflecting on it, and then recognizing that I am pure consciousness and not this, not just by words, but by factually, and that has to be understood. And that understanding that takes place at the buddhi level, but realization or recognition that I am pure consciousness is from the point of Kutastha Chaitanyam only. So question was posed, who realizes what? Does he realize the Chidabhasa realizes or Kutastha? Kutastha does not have to realize. Chidabhasa cannot realize. But the whole combination is involved, and in the combination I have to distinguish and claim myself. I am the Kutastha Chaitanyam. So I am the real knower of the Kutastha Chaitanyam. Only I am using this as the equipment, and that's what he said in terms of the Jnani operates in the process. And that's what is being explained here. In terms of how Jnani operates in the Laukika Vyavahara, he said he understands that. So from the point of his clear understanding, claim that Aham Brahmasmi is a claim, but while transacting, he does transact as though he is the body, mind, intellect. So that is, he is essentially a visa traveling from the higher state to lower state. At the transactional level, he can operate. At the same time, at the absolute level, he also understands that I am and claim that I am pure, existent consciousness, limitless, and so on. So we'll take sloka 12 now. Laukika vyavahareham, laukika vyavahareham, Gacha mitsyadite buduhu, gacha mitsyadike buduhu, vivichaiva chidabhasam, vivichaiva chidabhasam, kutastattam vivakshate, kutastattam vivakshati. Together. Laukika vyavahareham, gacha mitsyadike budaha, Vivichaiva chidabhasam kutastattam vivakshati. So Laukika Vyavahare Aham. So in the Laukika Vyavahara, Aham Gacchami iti Adike Buduhu. So in the Laukika Vyavahara, in the transactional world, so Aham Gacchami, I am going, I am sitting, I am eating, I am hungry, I am sleeping, I had to go, I had to get up. All those transactions he has to use, because that's how you can communicate. So you don't have to say, this body is hungry, this body is sleep. So someone introduced Swami Tejama and Jiva, he says, sir, this body is married to that body. So you don't have to use strange language just because you are an Advaitin or you are a Vedantin. So all you can say is, I am married to this lady, or I am operating here, I am hungry, I am thirsty, and I have back pain, I have this problem. You can transact with the world, because that's how you can communicate. Even with a doctor, you have to say, well, I am having a problem. So there is no problem in doing that, as long as you understand that this is at the transactional world, you have to operate. At the same time, you realize, understand in and through that Aham Brahmasmi has to be intellectually, has to be understood, cognitively you have to understand. And Lokika Vyavaharaha Aham Gacchami iti Adike Buddha. Buddha, the wise person, uses these transactional words for communicating, for Vyavaharaha, for transactional world. Otherwise he cannot transact in the world. So you cannot go to the security, who are you? So you just say, I am. You have to identify who you are for passport, for visa and all that. Vivichaiva Chidabhasam. So Chidabhasam Kutastastam Vivachate. So essentially, so Kutastat, along with the Kutastha, which I am having separately understood that I am pure consciousness. So the Tam Eva Vichami. So that I am is pure consciousness, they understand. So when he say I am this, he understand I am part also. So in the Ramana Maharshi Bhagavan says, Aham Taya Spurati Hrutsvayam Parama Purna Sat. He says, I am spontaneously rises in the mind, but while transacting, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi also, he was cooking, helping in the kitchen, he is helping and all that. So while transacting, he has to use the body, mind, intellect, and he has to communicate using body, mind, intellect. Therefore he says that I am Aham Gacchami, I am going, I am coming, I am doing, I am eating, I am sleeping. All those transactional words have to be used even by Buddha, by the wise person. But at the same time, he has a clear understanding what is I am stand for and what is really transacting also. That's why it's called a drama. Drama of life has to go on. So actor playing drama. So when actor playing drama, in the drama he has to act like a king or a beggar or whatever the scene demands. And therefore you cannot say I am an actor and I am the fair in the middle of the drama. Even though he understands that I am a king playing here or a beggar playing there, he never forgets that I am is really an actor, a millionaire, but only playing these roles here. Roles will have a problem, but I do not have a problem, because this is a drama has to go on, and life itself is a continuous drama, has to be played as long as the body, mind, intellect is there. So the whole process of life itself continuously, so other people may not know whether this person is realized or not. So you don't have to ask, are you realized? So what should you say? If I say yes, I am realized, I don't think so, then why do you ask? So he'll never answer who are realized, what you realized and all that, because that answering itself is ridiculous also. So therefore, the best thing is, a jnani doesn't say I am a jnani, and a jnani may claim that I am not a jnani, but jnani doesn't say I am a jnani also, because that jnanam is only at the intellectual understanding, a clear understanding, claiming that I am that pure Satchidananda. That should be occurring in the mind of Buddha. So therefore, Loka Vyavaharaha, transactional world, is different from the clear understanding of the Paramarthika level of this. That's what essentially has to be understood. So what Vidyaranya says, therefore, he has the two levels of operation. for the jnani. And the other one is only one level of operation, that's called mudha, where he takes himself only this body, mind, intellect, and transact with the world and suffer the consequence of the identification with the body, mind, intellect, which are limited. Therefore, there is a kala vastu parichinnatvam. The limitations of the body, mind, intellect, the time, the space-wise, time-wise, object-wise limitations are there. And whereas pure Satchidananda is Desakala Vastu Aparichinnatvam. There is no bound, the limitations of the space-wise, time-wise or object-wise, because one, it is Ekameva Advitiyam, one without a second. Therefore, there is no limitations of time, space, and that happens even in the deep sleep state also, because I am is there in the deep sleep state, but no more identification is not there. That itself tells you it is of the Advaitic nature, where one is happy, because there is no duality whatsoever in the deep sleep state. Everybody wants to go to the deep sleep state, and nobody has a complaint about deep sleep state. They complain that they cannot get deep sleep state, and that is a different, because he likes that, and that's because there is no Dvaita in the deep sleep state. But there is no knowledge of the nature of your own nature. For that you need a mind, and therefore with the Dvaita only, with the mind only, you have to understand. So, Maneva Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshayoho. Mind is responsible for both bondage and liberation. Using the mind, I had to realize that I am not the mind, I am pure existent consciousness, and even to say that I am not the mind, I need the mind. So, this has to be understood as what exactly self-realization means. Okay, so now what exactly the meaning of that? We will read Sloka 13. Asangoham chidatmaham asangoham chidatmaham iti shastriya drishtitaha aham sabda prayukteyam Kutaste kevale buddha together. Asangoham chidatmaham iti shastriya drishtitaha aham sabda prayukteyam kutaste kevale buddha. So Buddha, the wise person, while transacting, he uses that I am going, I am coming, I am doing all that. At the same time, that Kevale Buddha, the wise person, he says Asangoham Chidatmaham. I am untouched by this. Asangoham Punah Punah Sachidananda Rupoham Ahamevaham Avyeha. So essentially, that I am untouched by this while using the tools also. Just like I am using a pot and say there is no pot here. So what an ungrateful person you are. You are using the pot and say there is no pot. What is there is only clay in the form of a pot. But what is there is only clay. But pot is only a transactional form of the clay, or the ring is only a transactional form of the gold. It's only gold only, and it is precious because of the gold, not because of the ring form. It is, that's why I save it. If it is an iron, I won't save it. Therefore, it is the substantive, that which is adhara, that which because of which is supported by it, from which it came, by which it sustained, into which goes back. That's why Yatova Imani Bhutani Jayante Yena Jatani Jivanti Yat Prem Chabisham Vishanti. That from which the whole universe came, from which it is sustained, into which it goes back. So that essentially is what is the adhara, the substantive, and that's why all the ornaments came from gold, sustained by gold, and goes back. That's why it is a upadana karanam, material cause. And Brahman is the material cause. That's how the scripture defines Brahman. And therefore, aham asangaha, I am untouched in spite of becoming form. Gold is untouched, becoming in the form of a ring. Because ontologically, the gold is different order of reality compared to ring. Even though ring is real and the gold is real and all that, even though we say everything is real, we differentiate the reality of the gold in relation to the reality of the ring and the bangle. Ring and the bangle is real only for transactionally real, because the use of ring is different from use of a bangle. So vyavaharika, transactionally, the gold can transact in the form of a ring here, in the form of a bangle there, in the form of a necklace there. But from the point of absolute, I say there is no ring here, there is no bangle there. I am pure gold. I was gold, I am gold, I will be gold. So Krishna says Maya tadamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina mastani sarva bhutani. All beings are in me. He makes, and immediately next statement, nachamastani bhutan. There are no beings in me. So both statements are right. It's not contradicting. He is not contradicting himself. He's saying that all beings are in me. And then in the very next sloka, he says no beings in me, because the ontological order from which he says no beings in me is talking about Sachidananda Swarupam, where there is no beings of any divisions of any kind. Whereas when it comes to transactionally, all beings are in me only. That means now we are talking about transactional reality. So both statements are real, are correct, but from the point of reference state. One is from the Vyavaharika Satyam, another is a Paramarthika Satyam. The same way here, Asangoham Chidatmaham, I am Asangaha, untouched, Chidatmaham, I am pure consciousness, iti Shastriya Drishtitaha. From this, how do I know? I learned this from the scripture. So scripture becomes a pramana for this, and aham shabda prayukteyam. So when I use the word I am, that prayuktam, the speaking of saying that when I say I am, to skutaste kevalo buddha. Buddha, a wise person, he says that I am, when he is using, he knows what I am stand for. When he says I am this, he also knows why he is using this also for. So therefore, a realized person knows that I am pure Kutastha Chaitanyam, that is pure, all-pervading consciousness, and I am not this, but I am using this for transactional purposes. So now the question was posed, who realizes what? The one who is confused realizes. That is a simple answer. The one who doesn't know that Aham Brahmasmi has to realize that I am Brahman. So first answer is that the one who is confused, that Mudaha, has to realize that I am Brahmasmi. Then which is the Brahmasmi? Which is the Brahma means infinite. So which is infinite? Obviously the local body, local mind cannot be infinite, because by definition they are local. And therefore they cannot claim that I am the infiniteness. So who is going to claim? When I say I am Brahmasmi, the one who is identifying himself, I am the Kutastha Chaitanyam, he can only say that Aham Brahmasmi. So that was the question was posed. Since in this, who is the one who realizes? The one who is confused has to realize, who confused because he is taking himself what I am not as I am, now has to realize what I am as I am, and this is not only a mithya. So Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha Anena Vejyam Tat Shastram. So what is the Shastram? This is beautifully described in the statement. It says these three statements. What is the statement? Brahma Satyam, that which is infiniteness alone is real, and Brahma Jagan Mithya, the whole world is only transactionally real. That means neither Sat nor Asat, neither really real nor unreal, because I am experiencing, therefore it's real enough to experience, but it's not absolutely real because it's continuously changing. When something is changing, there has to be a substantive which is changeless. That's what law of conservation is. Therefore, there has to be changeless in this Jagat. Jagat is Jayate Gacchate, Gujuga, continuously changing. But there has to be changeless entity in the changing things, and that changeless entity is that pure Sat, which is the existence part, and that is untouched by these appearances itself. Therefore, Krishna says, Maya tadamidam sarvam jagad avyakta purtina mastani sarva bhutani. All beings are in me only. But Maya tadamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina mastani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avastitaha. I am untouched. by the properties or sufferings of all the beings. One side it says all beings are in me. At the same time, if the beings are suffering, I don't suffer. Why? Because asangaha, I am untouched by their, that's essentially Krishna's statement itself. Why? Because they are only appearances in me only. The fact is, there are no beings in me. Natamastani bhutani pasyami yoga vaiswaram. Hey Arjuna, see my glory. I am appearing as many, at the same time, their problems do not belong to me. Their sufferings and all that do not belong to me. Even though they are in me, their sufferings do not belong to me. I am untouched by that. But at the same time, there are really no beings in me because they are coming and going, they are appearance only. The truth is, I am Ekameva Advitiyam. I am beautiful one without a second, pure existent consciousness where there is nothing of jivas, and that is what essentially. So asangoham, that untouched is my nature. Therefore aham sabda prayukteyam. Therefore when I use the word aham, I am identifying myself with the Kutastha Chaitanyam. So who realizes? I am realizing I am Kutastha Chaitanyam. And until I realize, I am taking what I am not as I am. Therefore, I was ignorant about myself, and therefore now I am knowledgeable. How did I get it? Through Shastra Pramanam. It is Shastriya Drishtitaha. So Shastriya Drishtitaha, this is being pointed out by the scriptures. Therefore, scripture becomes a Pramana. So we take the scripture as the Veda Pramana, and that is Apaurusheya Pramana. So therefore we don't take anybody else's experience as the basis. So some people ask questions, says, so this Mahatma has realized, and I can realize because of Mahatma, and I don't need a scripture for that. Mahatma realized, that's good, and you believe in that Mahatma, that's very good. But Mahatma has to realize because of the scripture only. So the right teacher is the one who directs the disciple to the scripture as an authority. Because each person's experience we cannot go by as the basis, because you may have belief, others don't go, I don't think so, he is, then what are you going to do? So we take always scripture as the fundamental, common basis for a pramana, for a means of knowledge for us. And that's why it says Shruti, it is Shastriya Drishtitaha, Shastram. And that what is a Shastram? And Shankaracharya says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha Anena Vedyam Tat Shastram. So Anena Vedyam, by which I can know this, is alone is the Shastram. This a very statement is, this is only real Shastram. This is only real science. All other science are not really sciences. How can you say that? Because in all other sciences, the more you know, the more ignorant you become. Every scientist will say, I want to solve the problem, and in the end of the paper he will say, I need more money to solve more problems because this need to be studied, that need to be studied. If he says, I have solved all the problem, he will be unemployed next day. So therefore, no science, he becomes a super specialist only because the more you know, the more and more it reveals, and one becomes a more and more about less and less. That's what socialization is. And there is never end of the knowledge because the ignorance is becoming bigger. I don't know a lot more things which I didn't know before. That becomes a humble because he realizes. Whereas in the scripture, the student will go to a teacher and ask, sir, please teach me that knowledge, knowing which I know everything. Kasminno bhagavo vijñāte sarvaidam vijñātam bhavati. So eka vijñānena sarva vijñānam bhavati. So knowing one thing, you know everything. How can I know? If I know chemistry, I won't know biology, I don't know physics. But here the daring declaration of the students is, I want to know that knowledge, knowing which I know everything. And that's how Uddalaka starts his lesson to his son Swetaketu. Say, have you learned that one? He says, I don't think so, this is not possible. And Uddalaka says, it is possible, and therefore he gives an example of this gold and the mud and all that, three examples he gives. Then Swetaketu says, please teach me that knowledge. And that's how the Sat Vidya starts, and that's how the Ekameva Advitiyam Sat Tadeva Saumya Yadamagnamasi Ekameva Advitiyam. And in the end, it says, Aitadatmam Idagum Sarvam Tat Satyam Sa Atma Tattvamasi Svetaketo. So in the Tattvamasi Svetaketo, you are that, but before that he says, Aitadatmam Idagam Sarvam. This Idam Sarvam, this entire universe is nothing but that alone, from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. If I know that, then everything. So Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati is possible only because I know from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. If I know gold, I know in principle, not in details. In principle, I know the essence of all the ornaments. I may not know the ID, OD of this, of that, and all different ornaments, but I know essentially it's AU. I have a substantive knowledge, but not the superficial knowledge of superimposed names and forms. That's what essentially Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. Knowing one thing and the other things essentially follows, and that's why he says it is Shastriya Drishtitaha. That is a real Shastram, and that is what is being pointed out. So Anena Vejyam Tat Shastram, that which points out this is real science, and other sciences are only transactional sciences, because that's important for transactional purposes. From the absolute point, it's not really, will not tell you, because the objective tools of the scientist are not capable of analyzing the subject I am. He cannot use the objective tools because they are not valid for analysis. Therefore, this is only Vedanta becomes a Pramanam, and that's what is being pointed out here. Asangoham Chidatmaham iti Shastriya Drishtitaha Aham Sabda Prayuktoyam Kutaste Kevalo Buddha. So what was the question raised? Who realizes what here? Does the RC realizes, or the OC realizes? OC is a pure consciousness, RC is the reflected consciousness. Who realizes here? Who realizes is the one who doesn't know that I am OC has to realize, because he doesn't know, so he has ignorance. And when he knows, he claims that I am pure consciousness and not this. So it is the one who claims that I am pure consciousness has realized. That has to be understood that way. Because the whole thing is within the Vyavahara only. A realization, ignorance, ajnanam, everything is only at the transaction level, because from the absolute level, there is nothing of this, because it is Ekameva Advitiyam, one without a second. There is no jnanam or creation or that from the absolute point. It is one asangaha. That has to be also recognized. Now we go to the next sloka 14. Jnanita ajnanite tvatma bhasasyaiva nachatmanaha tatha cha kadama bhasaha kutastosmiti bujyatam. Now another question being raised here. So jnanita ajnanite tvatma bhasasyaiva chatmanaha. So it says jnanita ajnanita, I know I am jnani or I am ajnani. The atmanaha is essentially bhasasyaiva atmanaha. So who has realized I am the jnani and I am not ajnani? And essentially, if you say the ajnani has to realize, that means Chidabhasa with that, he cannot realize. And who is become a knowledgeable here? That's the question. The Kutastha, the pure consciousness, doesn't have to realize. And the other one cannot realize. Now you say the whole knowledge itself is becoming a problem, because the knowledge itself is mithya also. Then what is this realization? The whole thing is humbug only, and so therefore you have no validity to say anything, because you say this is all vyavaharika, this is not really real, it's not mithya. So knowledge itself, shastram itself also is a mithya, and realization is also mithya. Then what is this realization you are talking about? Therefore, what exactly is you are talking where there is no realization at all? And who realizes what again is a problem. When everything becomes a knowledge itself becomes a mithya only, because in the point of pure existent consciousness, there is no knowledge, there is no ignorance also. It is of the nature of knowledge, not knowledge of something. It is satyam, jnanam, anantam brahma. So jnana swarupam. So therefore, the realization and all that has no meaning there, and therefore the whole process itself is mithya. Then therefore when it is not real, then who is really realization? So this is the question is being posed, and that what being answered in the next sloka that we will take up in the next talk. So with this we'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah, you can go now. You can go now. Yeah, this wall we stopped already.